two guys and a gal, talking about movies, two guys and a gal, talking about movies, two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and you know, they are really groovy, two guys and a gal, talking about movies, two guys and a gal, talking about movies, two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and we know they are really groovy.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal talking about movies. And today's featured icon almost needs no introduction. It's Marilyn Monroe, okay? Everybody loves Marilyn Monroe. She is a legend. She's an icon of the industry, of pop culture. She, of course, has been memorialized by everyone from Andy Warhol to, if you go to Target, you'll find Marilyn Monroe stuff everywhere. I even have a wig that kind of resembles her. She is synonymous with glamour and the glitterati and Hollywood, classic Hollywood, sensuality, sexuality. And she wanted to kind of be known for humor. She wanted to be a comedian, and she was able to do that during her lifetime. And the guys are going to come in and they're going to talk about some of their favorite Marilyn Monroe movies. You guys all have your favorites as well. And I just want to quickly say something too, which is that I do not believe in ghosts, but my friend Hal Aaron Cohen, who used to work in Hollywood, he has a Marilyn Monroe ghost story. And I have a Marilyn Monroe ghost story, which is that I used to be an impersonator of hers. I would sing the birthday song for people on their birthdays. And one day when I was prepping with that, with Dennis Tardon over Zoom, because it was the pandemic, as he was sort of directing me through that birthday cake celebration for JFK song, both of us in two different locations smelled birthday candles. That is shocking. That is the only supernatural experience I've ever had with a ghost. And so I get a little scared when I think of Marilyn Monroe, but I'm here to do this show, and I'm going to bring up your guys, Manny Zamora and Rory Penland, for a truly iconic episode. Come on, guys. It's Marilyn Monroe. It's Marilyn Monroe, and I didn't wear the wig.
Was it her birthday or was it Kennedy's birthday? Wait a minute.
It was Kennedy's birthday, and they had the big birthday cake.
You were actually having a Kennedy ghost experience there.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
She just happened to be there.
You're right. Oh my gosh, you're right. With the Kennedy ghost experience, this totally changes my whole outlook here.
But
thank you for scaring me twice.
You said she's been immortalized from Andy Warhol to Target.
Yes. To Target, from like you go to Target and you see this, this beautiful, and to Halloween costumes over Halloween. You go to Walmart, you see these cheap wigs everywhere. Everyone wants to look. The blonde bomb. I mean, you have entire careers based on her. Like who?
She is Hollywood's little girl lost. She's the cautionary tale. Be careful what you wish for.
Norma Jean.
Yeah.
But entire careers have been based on trying to sort of ape her. I'm blanking on the famous one that came out Jane Mansfield.
Jane Mansfield. There was Maybe Van Doren.
But then also the one who married the old guy. What's her name?
Marilyn Monroe.
No,
no.
No, she's so famous. She had her own the first reality show, kind of like that. She's famous, and she's dead now too, unfortunately. But she married the very, very old rich guy, and
Anna Nicole Smith.
Anna Nicole Smith's entire career was based on trying to look like Marilyn Monroe. Everybody wants to look like Marilyn Monroe. So.
I know. I bleached my hair blonde like that, and
Manny and Rory do look a little bit like me. Now, Rory,
do you like her?
Do you do a Marilyn? I know you do some female characters, Rory. Do you do a Marilyn?
Basically, I just talk really breathy. I just love this. I'm so happy that you guys are doing a whole show about me.
Manny, would you like to try?
I want to hear you do the birthday song.
I'll try. You know what? It's on TikTok. So if anyone goes to my TikTok, they'll see it.
We got to navigate through hundreds of videos on TikTok to find that one, huh? do we?
But it
We
is
need to
very
just do it right
breathy.
now.
With
On a
this,
Marilyn
I don't know.
show?
I'll warm up to it. Let me warm up to it. Okay, let's get started, guys.
Okay, we're gonna end the show with Renee singing "Happy
Well,
Birthday" to everybody.
Yes.
I forget all the lyrics because actually there's like 2 verses of it too.
Yeah.
There's 2 verses of it. All right, let's
All you
get
gotta do is
started.
sing the first verse. The one that
All you
everybody
gotta
knows.
do is I just need the cake. I just need the cake.
Happy
All right,
birthday,
Manny, which one do we
Mr.
start?
President.
See.
There, I just did it in like a second. Come on.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
See.
Okay, wait.
Rory can do it. Come on.
Or I could play the. I could
Rory
find the
can do it.
TikTok
Thanks.
video.
If Rory can do it.
If Manny could do it, that would be really impressive.
Oh.
Yeah, it goes. Happy
Happy birthday.
to you. Happy birthday. And then she kind of like touches herself to you. If you watch the original. Happy birthday. Yeah, she does a lot of this. I do it. I'll
Did you see
upload.
what Marilyn Monroe sang to the president? She was touching herself. It was wow,
She did
man.
a fantastic job.
They
and
should have banned
she
that
did.
show.
She did so well. Like that was
It was-
amazing. And
it
that was
was- it
shortly
was pretty
before she
awesome. It was
died.
pretty awesome.
She died
That-
only, I think, a few months later.
One
Can
of the
you
stories
believe
I read this week when I was doing some research for the show was that she was actually sewn into that dress that she
that?
wore
Yes, she was.
at the
Yes.
president's birthday.
Right. She
they,
was.
they had to rip her out with this what is it? One of those what do they call that? A seam ripper?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
So
I'm-
man,
Yeah. Yep. That's right. She was actually so. And then Kim Kardashian had to fast and lose 16 pounds recently this year because she got a chance to be in that dress for a photo op at some famous
Probably the
gala.
Met Gala, I think.
The Met. It was the gala.
Yeah.
And she did it.
and that's funny because that was the thing I was thinking about. How the hell could she squeeze her body into that dress? Kim Kardashian.
It's well,
Oh my God.
she had to lose
She did it
16
somehow.
pounds, and then they did. She said they were very careful, and she only was in it for like a few minutes, and they instantly took her out.
and then it popped a seam.
I don't know. She worked at
She
it.
came out like a like a biscuit can opening up.
Well, Marilyn, this is the thing. If you look at pictures of Marilyn and also you look at her dimensions, I think she was a size 10 or 12 or something. She was actually pretty curvy. And that was sort of in back then.
Yeah.
That was, sort of in.
That was the end of her career,
Yeah, but the Kate Moss thing came later. The trend in her day was still to be quite curvy.
The Kate Moss thing.
Yeah, the Kate Moss thing where people were starving.
At that time, it was the Twiggy thing.
The Twiggy thing, I think that was all cocaine, right? I mean, I think it was just cocaine.
Well, eventually they called it cocaine chic. Yeah.
Especially at that time, psychedelic drugs
really
and
skinny and stuff. So.
You lose a lot of weight that way, So we don't recommend it to anybody.
Yeah,
no, do not do that. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor. Go with those
Can you give me some LSD?
Remember
we
a
do
sensible diet.
A sensible diet,
rough and
low sugar. There you go.
Exercise every day.
And cocaine.
And into bed at 10 p.m.
Lots and lots of cocaine.
A lot of, or snuff. You can have your snuff box. It depends what era we're talking about. Just
a lot of Colombian snow, if you know what I mean.
I grew up in a place called Lake City, Florida, and snuff is like tobacco that you're throwing your
right. Yeah, you can keep it in the like.
How y'all doing? You're leaving
and your
snuff,
teeth rot.
Snuff cups around with the snuff in the bottom of them all over the place.
Yeah, well,
real nice.
You can tell which side you favor by your teeth. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get started.
All right, let's
Wait. Oh, I'm sorry, Manny. You said there was a delay on my end, and I cut you off. What is it?
Oh, no, I was.
You had a joke about Colombian something. I wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear
the
it.
Colombian something joke.
We want to hear it.
Colombian. No, I just said it's Colombian snow. It's Colombian marching powder.
Marching powder.
There you go.
That's what they always,
Oh gosh.
The devil's dandruff.
Oh no.
I like that.
Stay away from drugs.
Drugs.
Remember, get your
bad.
MD to sign off on drugs. They have access to the most powerful drugs, and you need them to sign off on them.
Actually, all you have to do is become a famous rock and roll star.
Yeah, that's right.
And they just give it to you.
They just give it to you in your bag at the award shows. It just comes in your
It just comes in your goodie bag. Why do you
Yeah,
think
it's
they
all the
call it a
goodie, the
goodie
freebies.
bag? You know.
You're not Keith Richards, you know. Yeah, give it to you.
That's
If you do
right.
If you do enough
Yeah.
of it, it pickles you and you live forever.
That's right.
You can go either way. You either live forever or
The
you
only thing,
yeah.
when the apocalypse comes, the only thing that's going to be alive are roaches and Keith
and
Richards.
Keith Richards. And we all know this, and it's been proven. It's a provable fact, and it has
That's
been
right.
proven. Yeah.
Oh,
All right. Let's
you all
do
wanna- we're going to do Satisfaction one more time, all right? Right,
I like Beast of Burden. I like Beast of Burden. Do Beast
I'll
of Burden.
never be your beast
Beast
of
of
burden.
Burden. Before we went
We're
live,
talking about
we were
Maryland.
doing hops. We were talking about beer hops
We're talking
before
about
we
beer,
went live.
talking about hops.
We were talking about
Wow.
Marilyn Monroe and Renee's horrendous wig. You have to show the audience your horrendous
There's
Marilyn
layers.
Monroe wig.
There's layers of how bad
Our
they
friend
are.
Bob Ross calls it roadkill.
It is roadkill. That's why I can't find the other ones because I probably threw them.
And she was talking about going to hops.
Yes.
Like bunny hops.
Yeah, the bunny hops.
I was like, well, beer has a lot of hops in it.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
we were off and
I've
running.
done the tour of the so-and-so brewery.
The
So we're supposed to be talking about
Guinness.
Marilyn Monroe.
And we
but
ended up talking about Guinness. Yeah, so now we're talking about Guinness. But now Manny's going to do the number one.
So. Bread and,
yeah.
And it eats like a sip.
It's
like
like
a beer, but it eats like a sip.
You bite into it and it has substance. You could break a tooth on a Guinness, really. Okay, all right, that's it. Manny, take us away.
All right. Well, before I get into my number
12
one,
minutes into the show,
I want to comment. You know, there's the famous song that Bernie has, in the words of Bernie Taupin and sort of Elton John, it kind of speaks for a generation when we say, I would have liked to have known you, but I was just a kid. Your candle burned out long before your legend ever did. So. Okay, so my number one is Some Like It Hot. And this is interesting because Marilyn is top billed in this movie, and yet Tony Curtis and oh hell, I just forgot his name.
Jack Lemmon.
Thank you. Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon are the actual stars.
George Raft.
They're the main characters.
Yeah, my first off.
George Raft does his patented gangster thing. Basically, the movie's about these two guys, Lemmon and Curtis, who are musicians, and they witness a mob hit, a rub out, and so they take it on the lam, and they hide out in this all girls band dressed in drag, and that's where they meet Marilyn, who plays Sugar Cane. Yes, Sugar Cane. Because they couldn't have come up with an even cuter name than that. And she's the ukulele player, and she's a singer. And at first, it's Jack Lemmon who's just like drooling like that cartoon wolf. It's like ooga. And exactly. And he has one of the best lines in the movie where they're watching her walk, and he says, "How does she walk like that? It's like Jello on springs." And and eventually, of course, Tony Curtis starts to woo her by pretending to be a millionaire.
By doing Cary Grant.
And doing a Cary Grant impression.
That's right.
It's great. And then, of course, we have Joe E. Brown, who falls for Jack Lemmon's character of Daphne. And has that wonderful ending with, Lemmon pulling off his wigs. I'm a guy.
Nobody's perfect.
Great.
We can't adopt some.
Yeah, so I can't have children. We can adapt. It's just
Osgood.
a fun, delightful movie. Like a lot of Marilyn's movies. It's fluffy and it's fun. There's some serious moments though. I mean, when the gangsters kill the guys in the garage, the whole Valentine's Day massacre thing. I mean, they're like unloading their Chicago typewriters, their Tommy guns on these guys, and then they get hit at the end, and I mean, there's a lot of
And the
killing
birthday
in this
party.
movie. Yeah, this
With
birthday
Spats.
party.
Yeah, George Raft plays Spats.
Yeah,
And Nehemiah Persoff plays the other guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little Napoleon, which sounds like a rap singer. Yeah, I mean, there's some serious brutality going on here, but the rest of the movie is just Tony Curtis trying to put the moves on Marilyn, and Joey Brown, Osgood putting the moves on Daphne, and all the whole mix up. It's and one of my favorite scenes is when they're in the train and they have the party and the one little berth, and all the girls are coming in, and
Oh yeah,
there's Lemon trying to, like, at first he's trying to get them all out of his berth, and then after a while it's like, yeah, let's have fun.
Yeah, he just wants to be alone with Marilyn. Yeah,
he wants to be alone with Marilyn. Yeah,
I got a surprise for you.
There's a lot of interesting. I don't know if Billy Wilder was gay or not, but there's a lot of coding going on in this movie.
There is in his other movies as well.
Yeah.
But he's a delightful director. He's so wonderful, such fun.
Great. I mean, he really knows.
It's number 2 on my list as well.
Okay.
As is 7 Year Itch is number 3.
Okay.
So Marilyn is best when she's in an ensemble.
What is your number 1 then?
We'll go back to that.
We'll go back to that. All right.
But I wanted to say Marilyn is at best when she is working with an ensemble and she's not the lead focus of the movie. I mean, she's good as an actress. She's a good actress. This is the thing that is really ironic, is that 20th Century Fox, she was just a piece of meat to them. She got cast as prostitutes and dance hall girls, and I mean, they would not let her cut loose and be the actress that she could be. Most of the time when she was really acting, it was for another studio. But yeah, this movie is just a delightful ensemble piece. Again, with it's Curtis and Lemon's movie, period.
Mm-hmm.
But she's wonderful support, as is Joey Brown. I'll tell you, I have never seen an early Joe E. Brown movie. I've seen several of his movies from the 60s, where he was at the end of his career. I've seen him. I saw him in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, where he did a great cameo. He does a great cameo in. We were talking about Vincent Price and the Comedy of Terrors. He was in that, of all places, And again, it was supposed to be a comedy, and a horror movie. So, but I've never seen any of his early work. I should go back and watch his early work because I'm sure it's fun. Because he's an interesting character. So yeah, I really love Some Like It Hot. Like you said, it's got some great intense moments with the gangsters balancing out. I mean, that makes the gangsters scary. That's what you want. You want the gangsters to be scary, so that when these guys bump into them and drag and stuff, you just, I mean, that's what you get.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just a delightful movie. It's high marks. If you haven't seen it, it's one of my favorite black and white movies.
Nice.
So my first one is How to Marry a Millionaire.
Okay.
It's my number 1. You've got Lauren Bacall. You've got Betty Grable. Marilyn plays against type, which I love. I mean, she's not being the sex pot in this. She's kind of this nerdy girl who can't see. But she's drop dead gorgeous. But she's, still this kind of nerdy girl that bumps into walls and stuff. And then they throw in William Powell as a millionaire. They throw in Cameron Mitchell is the big surprise in this film. He's a surprisingly rugged, interesting leading man in this. Rory Calhoun is in it. David Wayne, who I love. He's a great character actor. He plays the Marilyn Monroe's love interest. Surprisingly, a couple of years earlier, he played her husband in what's the one? We're Married. Oh hell, give me a second.
Sure.
Bus stop. Yeah, terrible. Uh, we're not married. We're
Oh,
not
okay.
married. A movie that, again, 20th Century Fox made only to have Marilyn Monroe as a pageant queen, and
Oh, okay.
wear bathing suits.
Mm,
And again, Wayne is this again nerdy husband who it's funny to juxtapose those two together as a couple, and he's carrying the baby all the time while she's up on the pageant stage, bopping around in bathing suits. In any case, this movie is just, again, so much fun, so such a delightful character, and again, and it has one of the best 1980s comedy lines in the 1950s movies, when Lauren Bacall says, "I love older men." That guy she rattles off like 3 or 4 different guys, and then she goes, "The guy that was in the oh damn it, the African Queen. I love him."
yeah.
Her husband Bogart.
Right. Yeah.
But she
Yeah.
doesn't say my name, and that's the funny part. That's the comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, we find out at the end of the movie, after they've all decided to just go with the guys that they love instead of millionaires, that Cameron Mitchell is a millionaire. and we know that throughout the entire film. But it doesn't matter. So again, a really, really well written, really well acted comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Rom-com.
Yeah.
So that's my number 1. Something Like It Hot's number 2. We can go on to number 3.
Okay. Just want to say about
your number 2.
Okay. Just want to say one quick thing about Something Like It Hot. I really feel like this movie inspired Bosom Buddies. Later on, at least, the theme of 2 guys having to dress and drag to get to something. And maybe even white chicks. But anyway, so my number 2 is The 7-Year Itch.
That's my number 3.
Oh, okay. Marilyn Monroe, Tom Ewell, or I think it was billed as Tommy Ewell in the movie. Again, another Billy Wilder directed movie. And you can already see here, there's that probably one of the most iconic scenes that's been replicated and duplicated and copied and parodied ever since then. The infamous subway grate scene. But this, again, it's another, Tom Ewell plays this husband whose wife has been sent off, to get away from the city.
Mm-hmm.
There's this horrible prologue at the beginning of the movie where they're talking about Manhattan Island and the Indians, and that this thing about sending the wives off to the cooler climes or whatever started there, and then it goes, and you're like, oh man,
yeah,
it's the 50s. It's the 50s.
It's the 50s. It didn't age well, but
that part didn't age well. I mean, it's not as egregious as the Mickey Rooney character in Breakfast at Tiffany's, but still, you're like, oh, looking at it from our perspective now, it's a little cringy. But after that, once you get past that, then you get Tom Ewell as the husband who has sent his wife off, and Marilyn comes in. She's, of course, the sexy neighbor who's house sitting for this couple that's gone on vacation or whatever, and she almost kills him with a tomato plant. The tomato planter falls off the balcony and all this stuff, and he's a very Walter Mitty type.
Yes,
there's
definitely Walter Mitty all throughout that
film.
film.
A lot of Walter Mitty. He has these incredible just fantasy sequences. I love the one where they're playing the piano and he's like the Continental all of a sudden. If anybody remembers the Continental.
Yes,
I'm aging myself here, but and she has that wonderful moment too, where she's just playing along, in the fantasy sequence. So yeah, you can see how good an actress.
I think my favorite fantasy sequence in that is with him and his secretary, though.
Yes, yeah. I'm a woman. Look, yes, taking over top, and And he's all like, "No, I can't. No, no, no." Yes.
That movie is Tom Ewell's movie, and
Oh
he
yeah.
is so wonderful in that I overlook anything that's cringeworthy as far as it's dated. But he is so, and amazingly, I don't know of anything else that he's in. To be honest with you,
He,
um,
if I remember correctly, he actually he starred or co-starred with Robert. What was his last name? I forget his last name. From Beretta.
Robert Blake.
Robert Blake. Yeah, I believe he was like his father or in that
Oh,
series.
is he on Beretta?
Yes.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. That's
He's
so when I
playing
saw
Beretta's dad.
yeah
Yeah.
when I saw him in 7 Year Itch, I'm like, that's the dude from Beretta.
That's the guy who plays Beretta's dad.
Yeah.
Funny.
And
Now I'm kind of remembering that.
that's
But
all I
again,
remember
back in
him
the
from.
50s, when he did this movie, he must have done like a lot of comedies or something at that
I'm
time
sure he did.
to get into this movie with Marilyn Monroe. And
Yeah.
well, and here's another thing. Let's go back to Some Like It Hot.
Okay.
Tony Curtis, up to that point, I don't think had done comedy.
No,
So
he's mostly done a lot of serious stuff.
he had done a lot of like Aladdin type stuff, believe it or not, the Black Shield of Falworth, and he had done a lot of that kind of thing. He was in Spartacus. He was like an action film guy in the 50s. So when 1960 came along and this movie came along, I think this buffeted his career and turned it around to where he started doing comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And started doing stuff with Jerry Lewis and different things, boing boing,
Right, yeah.
and stuff like that. But again, he played the is it the Boston Strangler?
Boston Strangler, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he's done he has a very varied career, as far as what he's played. But in that, his comedy is at its finest. It really is.
Yeah, and he did a spot on Cary Grant
He
impression.
did a very good Cary Grant, which is funny.
Very good Cary Grant.
And it's funny
who
that
had
she doesn't
actually
get
played
it.
with
He doesn't
Marilyn
understand he's
in
doing
her.
Cary Grant. That's what's funny about it. She doesn't. She's clueless.
Yeah.
Yes,
Which,
father and mother. They loaned me the yacht this month.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's in Monkey Business as the sex pot secretary.
Right.
Playing
With
against
Cary
Cary
Grant. Yeah. So maybe that was a nod to that. I don't know. Maybe,
could be. I think that it might be.
Yeah. Why?
All right. So
that's a very specific impression to do. To disguise his voice. I mean, I get that he's trying to disguise that, he's.
Yes.
Although she never met him as, his male person, so how would she have known that was, Clementine or whatever her name was? Josephine. Right. Josephine, yeah.
Yes, because he's talking like this.
Yeah. So, but I guess it worked.
Did we pass over your number 2 or?
My number 2 was 7 Year Itch. So yeah.
7 Year Itch. Okay.
Yeah. So my number 3.
That's my number 3.
Oh, that's your number 3. Okay. So my number.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is you're gonna hate me. My number 3 is Bus Stop.
Ah!
I
put that in my honorable mention only to say that it's I'm sorry, it is the worst Marilyn Monroe movie in her entire career. She is so wasted in that film.
I have to disagree. I think she played it. The little Southern accent.
I did not want her to end up with stupid ass Don Murray at the end of that movie, even though Arthur. No, who's his father in that? Is a great character actor. O'Connell.
Arthur O'Connell. Yeah.
Arthur O'Connell. Love everything that he does. Yeah. But he couldn't even save this. This mess of a movie. And again, she wears one outfit, one sexy outfit through the entire film. And I think she's even a bad singer in that, isn't she? She's
she
like a
has
lousy
she has
singer
to,
at the beginning
she
of
has
it. And I
to
was like, why
yeah.
would they do that?
Well, it's part of her character. She's just this small town girl living in a lonely world. Uh, uh, and don't stop believing. No,
Hated it.
that's just part of her character that she has these dreams. She wants to go to Hollywood, be a big star, but she she's not that good. I mean, and uh, I will concede. I will say, yeah, I hated Don Murray's character. Again, it was just so
It's a theme in
obnoxious.
a lot of our movies that in the beginning of the film, the guy's an asshole or that he sucks, and you don't want her to end up with him. But then she usually changes the guy. She
Yeah,
usually makes him a better man, you know.
yeah.
But wow, in that one, I was just like, no, please don't end up with him, please, please. But throw in another character at the end to take her away. No,
But it's almost it reminds me a little bit, and this is going to be I don't know,
she
maybe it's a
was
bit of a
great in that
stretch,
movie.
but it
They're all
reminds
siding with you, Manny. They're all
well,
hating me.
well, see, uh, even when Jonathan Duncan sides with me, I don't know what that means, but it reminds me of Taming of the Shrew in a way, but kind of in reverse.
Uh-huh.
Uh, where it's not the woman having to be tamed, it's the guy. He's so wild and so out of control, and then when Arthur, or whatever his character's name is, forget, he he has the bus driver, he winds up having to fight with the bus driver, and losing that fight and being kind of humbled for the first time,
Mm.
and him realizing, hey, maybe I have been a jackass, and the way he approaches Marilyn's character, Lorelai, and tries to
Lorelai.
sort of realize, hey, wait a minute, maybe I have been going about this all wrong, and
Barry Lyndon. It's another Barry Lyndon.
so but again, it's convention of the 50s or early 60s.
Yeah.
You gotta take the time. The girl has to end up with the guy, and yeah, I get it. I understand why you would dislike this movie, or why anybody would dislike this movie. Um, I I know I enjoyed her character,
Mhm.
and like I said, Murray's character. I get that,
Not so
he's
much.
fresh off the farm, not so much. I think he kind of overplayed it. Uh, Arthur Connolly's character loved, yeah, like I said, I really liked the kind of interplay with the bus driver and Grace, the owner of the cafe. All their little kind of, I mean, very obvious
I'm eating
innuendos.
popcorn while I watch you
He's
defend this movie.
he keeps trying to, get her upstairs to that room. Oh, well, I hear you got this room upstairs. Yeah, I'd like to see that room. It's like, dude, dial it back a little bit. You got to, but she, she's not above doing a little flirting herself, and she. But anyway, yeah, it's all personal preference. I enjoyed the movie. You didn't, I did.
I'm glad you
Enough,
enjoyed the movie.
enough said.
Again, there were so many other movies that I had to watch this weekend. Maybe I should have given it a better look. I kind of skimmed through it. I'm like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
they're on a
yeah.
bus. Okay, they're moving.
And it's
He's still an
funny.
asshole.
It's funny because
I'm going, okay, Arthur
my
O'Connell's in it. It's probably
local,
good.
yeah, I watched a production of Bus Stop in our local theater.
Okay.
They put it on, and now in the play, the entire play takes place at that shop at the bus stop.
At the one place.
And in
Okay.
the movie, they basically condensed all that to like the last like a few minutes in the beginning, a few minutes at the end, and then opened it up to where you actually see the rodeo, and all this stuff, and then almost wish they'd filmed the play as it was, gotten, you know, uh, uh, Sidney Lumet to film this, since he was good at doing that. But
He did film it. It was a terrible ending.
everybody dies at the end in the snowstorm. Or there was
You
that
should have cast
Twilight
Marlon
Zone.
Brando.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, let's move on to number 4.
You go first. Number 4, right?
So my number 4 is River of No Return with Robert Mitchum. Oh boy, and Rory Calhoun.
Throughout this movie, and again, they start her out as she's a saloon girl.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah,
they have her sing a couple of songs at the beginning, and
Yeah,
the
but
whole
at least
time through this movie, I'm thinking, why did they put Marilyn Monroe in a western? Robert Mitchum, Rory Calhoun, a very cute kid like Shame,
Yeah.
but place in this one for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I really liked her in this. This is one of her one attempt at a serious role. Yes, we get she's a showgirl. And
It's what's for dinner.
Singing. Yeah. Yes, Robert Mitchum was the voice of the Beast.
Oh my God. I got to blow the ending on this. The kid kills Rory Calhoun, her husband, who's a real loser gambler guy.
Yeah.
Don't hold back, Rory. I'm not going to.
He never does, folks. He never does.
Marilyn Monroe runs to the kid. It's like, it's okay. It couldn't have worked out any other way. You had to do. He just killed her husband.
That she's
so she's going to end up with Robert Mitchum, I guess.
Well, I think at the end she realized exactly how much of a louse he was, and even though
I guess
trying to tell her all along, when she's like, "No, you don't know him, you don't know how," but the whole point, because the kid finds out that Robert Mitchum, his dad had been in jail because he had shot a man and shot him in the back and all that, and he couldn't understand. Well, why would you do that? That's just. And then, of course, the irony of him having to do the exact same thing at the end and realizing, oh well, sometimes you do have to shoot a guy in the back
to save your dad.
Yeah, and to save his dad. And again, I feel like this is another movie that inspired. I feel like this inspired the Rifleman TV show, Chuck Connors. The single dad and the kid and so on. It just felt very similar to me. So anyway, it was a good action movie. Interesting movie. Could they have cast somebody else in the Maryland part? Yeah, probably. But I feel like Marilyn needed she wanted a chance to prove that she could play something other than the gold digger she plays in other movies, so she gets to play a serious part. There's a cringy moment where Mitchum obviously is trying to force himself on her. And that's kind of just sort of brushed off like, oh, you didn't just try to arm this woman. But again,
it happens in my number 4 as well.
Okay. So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is The Misfits. With Clark Gable.
And Montgomery Clift.
Montgomery Clift is kind of a cliff note in that. He's only in it for like the last 30 minutes. Okay. And Eli Wallach is actually in it through the whole movie.
Yeah.
And Eli Wallach was a friend of hers from the Strasberg School of Acting. but that changed during this movie. This is her last movie and Clark Gable's last. Clark Gable died 2 days after they wrapped on this film. Died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And ironically, he had said during production, that girl's going to kill me. Because she kept showing up late, all kinds of emotional problems. Here's the thing. This was a living hell for her because her husband, Arthur Miller, wrote the screenplay for her as a vehicle for her.
Right. Yeah.
She became so clingy with him that he was like, nah. He broke it off with her. Got a Mexican divorce. And he and the director, John Huston, and Eli Wallach teamed up to try to change the script of the film. They were going to do rewrites on the script to completely change the movie. And luckily for her, Gable had final script approval. That was one of the stipulations in his contract. And he fought it. He said, nope, you keep it the way it was. It worked. It's good. And I get the girl at the end of the movie. And he fought for that and won because he threatened to walk off the picture.
Mm-hmm.
They had already taken 2 weeks off for her, but she had to go into rehab for 2 weeks to relax and rest. The production of the film was just fraught with all kinds of problems because Hollywood, you know. And when it was released, Gable saw some of the dailies towards the end and said, this is probably the best thing I've ever done. And he was right. It was one of his best performances ever. And I hated the beginning of the film with all the men just kind of lusting after her. But that's her character. She's the little girl lost, and they're all like, something about Mary.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Again, this probably is where something about Mary came from. There's some influence there.
Yeah.
And again, by the end of the movie, I'm like, you know what? This is really wonderful cinema. It's real. It's gritty. It's one of Marilyn's best performances. Some of her personal insanity was showing through in this movie, but that fit her character in this movie. She's broken. Yeah. She's not altogether there.
Yeah.
So it's so impressive that Huston was able to ball it all up together and piece it together. Mm-hmm. And you got, again, Montgomery Clift, great performance by Montgomery Clift. He only did like 3 pictures or 5 pictures after this, and then he died like 5 years later.
Yeah.
Eli Wallach is really good in this, but he wanted to be the hero at the end of the movie. You know, he wanted to walk away with Marilyn at the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. Just an amazing film, and again, a really interesting story of you know, the troubles that can happen on a movie when you're trying to, you know, balance the divas and the you know, the Hollywood types.
Right, yeah.
And yeah, it's just masterful filmmaking. It's one of Huston's best. It's Thelma Ritter is in it, and she's wonderful. She's delightful in it as Marilyn Monroe's best friend. And yeah, it's about Reno. You know, they're out there in the middle of the desert. And that was the other thing, is it was so hot when they were shooting the movie. It was like 100 degrees out there, and you know, they were trying to film this movie out in the desert. Yeah, just a wonderful movie. If you haven't seen, I had not seen it until last night, and I watched it, and I was like, wow, this really is cinematic history right here. So again, I hated the fact that they were all lusting after her. I want to be with you. There is a dance scene with Eli Wallach and her at the beginning of the film, and this was a practical joke. He actually arranged it so where she would not get a face shot in that dance scene. That was all him. It was all about him. And he's out there, John Travolta, and man, he's dancing up a storm. And even Gable's like, man, I didn't know you could dance. Where'd you learn to do moves like that? And again, Gable's an alcoholic, and she's like an animal lover, and he's like going out to hunt. Mustangs to make dog food. You know, so I was just like, wow, how is this going to end? So, and Gable did most of his stunts in the movie, except for the end when the horse drags him. Houston wouldn't let him do that. And luckily so. He died 2 days after filming, so
Yeah.
he might not have made it that far. So yeah, just wonderful, wonderful filmmaking. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
That's my number 5.
I was originally going to be How to Marry a Millionaire, which interesting. That was your number 1.
Yeah.
But honestly,
here's why this one made the bottom of the list.
Okay.
And the other one made the top of the list was because Marilyn Monroe's character in this is so evil in the first half of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She's just using that poor billionaire guy. But then she ends up falling in love with him for real and marrying him at the end of the movie. So
yeah. Well, for me,
and I love Jane Russell. Jane Russell's so good.
Well, I was just gonna say, for me, Jane Russell actually makes the movie for me.
Yeah.
And well, there's 2 things: Jane Russell, and of course the legendary number "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend."
Yes.
If anybody needs a reason to see this movie, it's Jane Russell and Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. Actually, I enjoyed pretty much all the musical numbers. In fact, it starts right off the bat with a musical number,
right?
Where we're introduced to the 2 characters. Russell is just an absolute delight in the entire movie. It's the more level-headed one.
She's more guy hungry, which I thought was interesting.
And
she's going after like the Olympic team.
Exactly. Which is a great set piece there. It's a great musical number. And kind of suspect that, again, that may have influenced the Rocky Horror Picture Show with the number about in 7 days I gotta make you a man.
Funny.
Or maybe not. I don't know. I'm probably stretching a point here, but Marilyn, she does her patented, gold digger thing of it's easier to marry a rich man as it is a poor man. that sort of thing. And you're right. She is just using the little nerdy millionaire at the end. And you think that she's going to wind up hooking up with the private eye, and it's actually Russell who winds up hooking up with the private eye character. And then there's another wonderful performance from Charles Coburn as the sort of little British guy.
He's also in Monkey Business.
He's also in Monkey Business. Yeah. Who flirts with Marilyn throughout, or Marilyn kind of flirts with him, and the whole thing with the tiara. And anyway, it's a fluffy piece of fluff, but it's fun.
It's fun.
Great musical numbers. Rosalind Russell is just delightful. Marilyn is too. I mean, got to give props to her as well.
Jane Russell.
And Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. Probably one of the best musical numbers, one of the best songs. Of course, Madonna borrowed heavily from that one for Material Girl, obviously, another iconic image. And I remember somebody did a remix of kind of mixed Diamonds Are Forever, Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend with Material Girl, and
Bassey.
And I want to say, now that I think about it, I think it's probably like an episode of Glee or something that they did that. They would do those types of things. So anyway.
I know that Carol Channing has done it, and that when I do her impression, I usually do her doing that. And Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. But I can't remember where the hell she did it, but yeah, she's related to that song now.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was my number 5 as well. Let's talk about our honorable mentions.
Okay.
Asphalt Jungle
Mm.
is the movie where John Huston actually gave her a shot at really acting. You know, again, she had done Love Happy, you know, had her minute in that where she was a sexy sex pot. She had done All About Eve, where again she was like an aspiring sexy actress, you know, trying to make her, but you know, she's only in the movie for a couple of minutes. It's mostly Betty Davis. Buckle up, it's gonna be a bumpy ride, and oh hell, who plays Eve in that? Damn it!
Oh, yeah.
Ah, I'm seeing her on Batman.
Oh,
She played Olga, and she actually was on it too. She was on it twice. She played
Carolyn Jones? No.
no. Ann Baxter.
Ann
Ann
Baxter.
Baxter.
Ann Baxter. Yeah.
She played the Houdini character the
Right.
first season, and then she came back as Olga, Queen of the
Olga,
Cossacks with Egghead later.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ann Baxter. Yeah, that was basically her movie, and her and Betty Davis.
Betty
fighting.
Davis. Yeah.
Yeah, and Celeste Holm too. You know,
Wow,
but she really hadn't gotten a noteworthy role until she played the poor delusion kid in Asphalt Jungle. So it deserves a nod. Don't Bother to Knock. With Richard Widmark. There's something weird about her character. You're not quite sure. You can't put your finger on it. And she turns out to be crazy. And she does a great, subtle job of bringing out, you know, that she's this mentally, you know, disturbed girl. She can act. She can seriously act.
Oh yeah.
So that one is definitely noteworthy. Monkey Business, of course. Now, Niagara. She is such a cold-hearted biatch in Niagara. Oh my God. Trying to kill her husband, Joseph Cotton, to get with a younger man.
Yeah.
Oh, she's evil. She is just evil. And to play that was a pretty bold move.
Yeah.
To play that, to do something different.
Yeah.
And on my list, I have River of No Return and Bus Stop.
Yeah.
But we don't need to talk
Niagara.
about
Yeah, Niagara's one of my honorable mentions. And for that reason, said. I mean, she was just very much the femme fatale in that one. And my other one was The Misfits, which just, you know, and again, you make these choices. It was either that or River of No Return, and I chose River of No Return. But no, I love The Misfits as well, and for all the reasons that you already mentioned. So
now she fantasized that he was her father.
And How to Marry a Millionaire is another.
Clark Gable was her father because her mother actually had a picture of Gable up on a wall in the house. And she went to a movie and saw Clark Gable in the movie and was, oh my God, that's the guy whose picture my mom has up in the house. And the mother refused to tell her who it was. So she thought in her mind, that could be my father. So she actually fantasized about that. And again, she had a crush on Clark Gable early on because of that. Kind of a weird crush.
Yeah.
So when they ended up together in The Misfits, and then again, both ended up passing right after it. Ooh.
Yeah, very, very close. Yeah.
Asphalt Jungle is a really interesting film noir. And Monroe's character, again, she proved in that one that she could act, that she could really act, that she was not just cheesecake.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, she unfortunately fell victim to the demon of typecasting. Like a lot of actors do, and actresses. They saw
Hollywood
her as
sells what sells,
exactly. Yeah.
and they're it's hard to deal with Hollywood. It really is
Right.
not easy to deal with Hollywood if you're a performer. You're a
Yeah.
performer. You're trying to do the best you can. You're trying to do diverse roles to show that you can really act and to get respect among your peers. And Hollywood just doesn't allow for that all the time, especially if you're like a Marilyn Monroe who was cast because of her looks, basically.
Hmm. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and she had a hard time dealing with that, and that snowballed uh, at the end of her career into a nightmare, you know.
Hmm.
And like I said, her last production, The Misfits, was just fraught. She was just disturbed. She was well, actually, her last production was a movie called Something Gotta Give that never got
Something
finished,
got to
never got
give.
made.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
They.
and there is has resurfaced the Hollywood's first nude scene was with
Hmm.
her, and it's The Misfits. She had a
Hmm.
scene where she and Gable are in bed together, and she let her towel drop purposefully so that they would get that scene. And Houston said, "No, we can't run that. We can't do that." He said, "Destroy it." And the guy that was in the head of the production kept the scene and put it in a vault, and now it belongs to his son. His son just found it a couple of years
Wow.
ago. And it would have been Hollywood's first nude scene had they allowed it, had they let it go.
Hmm.
But in Something's Gotta Give, she wanted to do nude again with the swimming pool scene
Hmm.
that's infamous now. I mean, people show video and pictures of that swimming pool scene left and right.
Yeah.
Dean Martin was supposed to be in that movie. He was very upset that he didn't get to work. The picture never got finished. He really wanted to have that.
Yeah.
But there it is.
Yeah.
And her death is always
Renee.
a mystery.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have anything to add to that?
This was my favorite episode. You guys really did justice to her. I love how you stood up for her talent. She really she took a lot of acting classes. I think Rory had mentioned that. And she
Right.
was a very quiet student in class. She was very respectful. And actually, worked hard at her craft. She was not what she always pretended to be. She was an actual actress, which means newsflash, that wasn't who she was. And of course she starts off as Norma Jean, and that's the Manny talked about the Elton John sort of homage to her in song. But yeah, and a tragic figure too, because as beautiful as she was and as many men as clamored around her, she ends up never really living long enough to get the respect that she really should have had. And I think Rory called it, was it Paramount that you said treated her like meat?
20th
Or
Century Fox.
20th Century Fox,
Yeah, she was
and
on the
it's one of,
contract. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just one of those things where, like, yes, she's beautiful and sensual, and that was a big part of her persona, but goodness, she wanted to be funny. She wanted to bring joy to the world. She wanted to be lighthearted. She wanted to be very diligent in her craft, and she worked very hard to get there, and was absolutely as much attention as we give on her looks and on her movies. It's not, if only she had lived longer, I would have hoped that she could have claimed ever more respect as she grew older, and was hopefully, would have been given more mature roles. I would have loved to have seen like a 70-year-old Marilyn really killing some matriarchal roles. I think she would have done a fantastic job with her poise and with her wit. I think there was just not enough time. And
She would have been in Airport 77.
she would have been in, well, she could have perfected her Southern accent. She could have worked, she was very willing. And I think there's a reason why I think a lot of women respond to her. There's a lot of women that really study her and think about her a lot. And I think it's because women are always wondering, okay, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Why is she not being respected by men when she's the beautiful. She is the standard of beauty that we still have today, even. I mean, there's still people who are sort of leveraging what she put into the zeitgeist and into the culture to mean beautiful. And then at the same time, so if you're a young girl growing up, you say, okay, what if I just looked like her? So that's what Anna Nicole did. That's, you know, that's what they're all doing. And then it's like, yeah, but then you hit that wall of you hit that ceiling where then you're not getting respected. But then if you don't look like her, then you're not being respected. So it's really, she really becomes a symbol of the culture that we have in the West or in America, and gender studies, and like, what are men looking for? What, you know, I think that's, so she's bigger than Norma Jean. She becomes, and there's a great Marilyn Monroe story. She actually was a quite modest person and a humble person. And she was taking a friend of hers in New York City, and they were walking down the street together, and she was already a star, and everyone was ignoring them. And Marilyn said to the friend, do you want to see her? And the friend said, what do you mean? And Marilyn just changed how she walked, and instantly everyone just said, oh my gosh, it's Marilyn. Oh my gosh. She knew how to use her instrument. This is kind of like what Sophia Loren talked about. It wasn't even just her physical beauty. She knew how to use, as an actress learns, she learned techniques for how you turn that on and turn it off, how to be Norma Jean behind the scenes, and then how to be Marilyn Monroe. And that's acting, and that takes talent, and that takes intelligence. And yet, you know, there just wasn't that respect there. And that's sad. That's why we're still talking about her, I think. I think it's not just her body of work or her body. I think it's, yeah.
You know, she didn't like confrontation. She wasn't a fighter. She let
Right,
people
she was not a
walk all
fighter.
over her, kind of, in Hollywood. Her marriage to Joe DiMaggio, he was so violently jealous, you know, of her, that, I mean, it didn't last long, because the scene in not Bus Stop, 7-Year Itch, that you were talking about, with the dress blowing up. Oh my God, he was furious about that. Just hated it, didn't want it in the film. And that was pretty much the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back for him, you know,
Right.
with their relationship. But
Right.
his last words were, I'm finally going to be with Marilyn.
Well, this is the thing, is, you know, that we think about that, the oldies song, if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife, you know. And that's, young girls are growing up in that, and we still have it now in social media. And I never know what to tell the younger generation, because I still don't know what to tell my generation or my mother's generation. It really is a damned if you do and damned if you don't, because what you're talking about with Joe DiMaggio is true. When a woman is powerful, whether it's her looks or she's successful or she's wealthy or whatever, then all the guys flock. But at a certain point, their insecurities get to them, and they feel that they're not in control, or that she has some sort of power over them or could leave them. And he ends up kind of wanting to go for something smaller. And then if you're that woman, you're caught in the middle all the time. And so again, like I said, there's entire courses taught on her, political courses and anthropological courses, of course, film studies. And we could just talk about her over and over again. By the way, Jonathan Duncan is recommending a biography he just finished about Marilyn called Bombshell. And he says he highly recommends it. And he also said that since he came in late, he wanted to revise. What were your number ones, guys, for people who walked in a little late?
Mine was Something Like It Hot.
And Rory?
What's your whole list?
Well, he said
Right.
your number ones. I think he came in.
Oh, mine was How to Marry a Millionaire.
Yeah.
That was my number one. Number two was Something Like It Hot. Number three was 7-Year Itch. Number four was The Misfits. And number five was Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
There you go.
And there were a lot of others that were interesting. I mean, I liked her little 1-minute cameo in the Groucho Marx thing. You know, I mean, Love Happy. I mean, that was funny.
Very, very, very funny. Yeah.
Man, there's men, they're following me.
I wonder why they would do that. And then he does such an obvious eye roll for the camera. It's hysterical. It's just so obvious. Now, that's the story of my romance right there. She walks out the door and the killer stops him from following after her.
anything with Groucho Marx is great. People should go to YouTube and the TV show that he did when he was older. What was the name of that?
Yeah. It's,
So good.
Your show of shows. Or no, that was
Yeah.
Sid Caesar.
No,
Not
hell.
what's with my line.
it's like so funny. You can go and watch
Yeah,
it on
yeah.
YouTube and see
Yeah.
him.
The duck comes down, say the magic word, and
Say the magic word, then get duck will down and bite you on the nose.
yeah.
And he became great friends with Alice Cooper because they both lived in Laurel Canyon. And he would call up Alice Cooper at 1 a.m. every night and say, come on over and watch movies till I fall asleep. And Alice Cooper would come over and then turn off the TV for him when he fell asleep. It was a friendship that endured for years.
He was a very close friend to Dick Cavett too.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Him and Cavett were very close friends.
Very cool. I love that. And if anyone wants to read Groucho's autobiography, it's fantastic. I read that I was a teenager, but that was also very, very good. They grew up kind of rough and tumble in New York City, carried knives on them and everything, the brothers. Really, really interesting stuff, guys. Well, this was my favorite episode. So what are we doing next week?
Next week?
Disney, right?
We're doing
Disney. We're going out on
live
Disney.
action Disney movies. That's right.
Live action Disney. There's so many to choose from.
Exactly.
Wow, this is exciting. And I love, by the way, and I think I'm speaking for everyone, because people say this to me all the time. They say, we love when the guys don't agree. Because if you guys agree, there's no show. Because it's just like, I liked it too. I liked it too. Or I liked it too. But it's just great when Rory's there chomping on his popcorn. He's like making faces. And then Manny's really defending it. Saying, it's just.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa, although he doesn't have
like
the popcorn. Although he doesn't have the popcorn. But yeah, it's so much
I need to start.
It's on your number 5 list, really?
What? And thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. We love you, Jonathan. Thank you for tuning in so much. And live action Disney next week.
Live action Disney. That's right.
He's Rusty, the lonesome cougar. He was the biscuit eater.
Oh my gosh.
We already know what Rory's number 1 is going to be.
You do know what my number 1 is. I know you do.
Oh
it's
my
probably gonna be
God.
your number 1 too. I don't know why I did it.
Yeah.
I hope you guys disagree. Try to disagree.
Been terribly misquoted. I could rattle off lines from the movie all day.
Jonathan said Manny is always diplomatic and Rory goes unhinged, huh? I love the dynamic.
We're like Curtis and Lemon here.
I'm unhinged.
Yes. Unhinged is a great word for you.
For Rory.
You and Rory
the
Calhoun.
Unhinged one.
The
whoever voted for me to get a star, by the way, thank you so much. I'm thinking it was Manny because you said co-host. So I'm Manny's co-host on this. So that's who I
congratulations.
So thank you very much. It's always nice to get.
Oh, you deserve it, man. You deserve it. Absolutely.
Like that,
Absolutely.
that what you're doing is making a difference.
Yo, come
I
on,
love
man.
that.
Rory, you are a tremendously talented individual, and you deserve every recognition that comes your way.
You.
Thank you.
And we will, and then when you're not around, we'll backbite you and say he didn't deserve it. We got to be Hollywood. You can't be.
I can't believe he didn't like Reverend Return.
He didn't deserve it. I could have been a contestant.
Great Western.
Yeah. No, it's very well deserved. Of course.
All cats are a girl's best friend.
And yes, I'm trying to think of where Carol Channing, because like when I think of that, I think of her.
I get it. Cracks me up. I don't know where that happened.
I watched it recently.
Maybe she just did a live show and did it, and it just stuck.
It's from a movie. I've seen it. If you YouTube it, I saw it recently. I saw it within the last year. It's absolutely from a movie. Like I can still see it. I can see it. But anyways, we'll figure it out.
We'll YouTube it. We'll
YouTube it. We'll get to the bottom of it. We'll do some.
We're gonna get to the bottom of this mystery.
I'll call you about it.
I'm so happy you'll be watching my videos.
Exactly.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
all right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We went long. Rory will be proud. That's what Tom Cheshire always says. And next week, live action Disney.
That's going to be a long one.
It's gonna be a long one. So
gonna be a
guys,
long
bring
one, I
your
bet.
popcorn. Bring
So,
your popcorn. All right. Good night, everybody.
buckle
Good
up.
night, everyone.
Buckle up. It's gonna
Thanks for watching this episode of Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal Talking About Movies. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to get future episodes.